Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my Premier League Matchweek 35 predictions where of course as usual we're going to be talking about every game coming your way this Premier League match weekend. And of course Premier League Matchweek 35, I cannot believe this Premier League season is almost over. It feels like it just started. I feel like it was just yesterday that I had hope for my club Manchester United, but of course we're at that stage of that season where I've already got that realization that we're not even going to get a top 4 spot. But other than that, of course, we're going to be talking about every game coming your way this weekend. Of course, the games we're going to be talking about this match week are on screen right now. As you can see, big games like Newcastle United versus Liverpool. And of course, with only like 3-4 games left before the end of the season, every single game counts. I mean, can you imagine if Newcastle United get any kind of points from Liverpool, that could be the season over. Manchester City could win the title, which wouldn't that just be the perfect symbol for football today? That Newcastle United, who became the richest club in world football this season, if they decided the title winners, I think the football world would just explode. But of course, we've got other games to look out for. Of course, the likes of Frank Lampard will be managing Everton versus Chelsea, which by the way, Everton in the relegation zone at the moment. Burnley playing against the likes of 19th place Watford. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Everton might be going down this season. And of course, we've got the likes of West Ham United versus Arsenal, Manchester United versus Brentford, which I'm not very confident about, to be honest with you. And of course, a bunch of other games that we'll be talking about this video. Now, of course, yes, I know, sorry guys, I haven't done a Premier League prediction video in quite a while now. I know I've missed quite a few, but to be honest with you guys, I've kind of been slightly busy with college. Along with that, I've been doing World Cup Wednesday videos where we talk about a different World Cup nation every single Wednesday. I've been having a lot of fun with that. But of course, almost the end of the Premier League season, and I thought I might as well pick it up again. And of course, it is a major Premier League match week to pick back up on. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you want to see this kind of content on a more regular basis, if you want me to do Premier League predictions every single week, make sure to leave a like down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. But of course, jumping into game number 1, we've got Newcastle United versus Liverpool. Now, I hate to say it, especially as a Manchester United fan, but Liverpool just seems so unstoppable at the moment. I mean, obviously recently drew versus Manchester City. It wasn't their most convincing game I've ever seen them play, but 14 games unbeaten at the moment in the Premier League. They just got a 2-0 win versus Villarreal in the Champions League. And look, Newcastle United, they've been brilliant this season. Of course, 4 wins in a row at the moment. They're looking very, very happy at the moment. But of course, if there's any team that I doubt that they'll get points versus, it is going to be Liverpool, to be honest. And I do think Liverpool are going to end up getting a 2-0 win. I think they're going to end up keeping the clean sheet because, I mean, Alisson has been absolutely brilliant this season between the posts. Of course, Liverpool as a whole just looking really, really unstoppable, and I'd be surprised if they lost any points versus Newcastle. But as I said, just the wonderful things that have happened in football, the strange things that have happened this season, I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle United ended up getting the points. And of course, in terms of a player to watch, I would love to say Mo Salah because, I mean, it is the easy option, but it has to be the Senegalese prince, Sadio Mane. That man has been untouchable this season. Definitely needs to be within the top 5 of the Ballon d'Or. Of course, I mean, won AFCON in the beginning of this year, but when it comes to Premier League and Champions League, he's made such an impact for Liverpool, and I think he's going to do it again versus the mighty Newcastle. I mean, as I said, just looking at Newcastle versus Liverpool, I think Newcastle could surprise us, but the last time they beat Liverpool was in 2015, so it's been a while. But of course, moving on to game number 2, Aston Villa versus Norwich. Now, of course, Aston Villa without a win in their last 5 games. They're going to be slightly worried at the moment. And versus Norwich City, of course, Norwich did last in the Premier League at the moment. Aston Villa should be very, very worried if they lost points here. Of course, as we know, Villa have got an exceptional team at the moment, but something's not quite clicking at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost versus Norwich. But at the end of the day, I still believe in Stevie and his men.
Dunno, I think that's a bit dodgy, mate.
And I do believe Villa are going to end up getting a 1-0 win. As I said, wouldn't be surprised at all if Norwich ended up getting a win. As we know, sorry, I darkened my screen there for a second. As we know, it wasn't too long ago when they ended up getting a win versus Burnley, a very comfortable 2-0 win. I think on the attacking front, Norwich have always had the ability to surprise us. But when it comes to both attacking and defense as of late, they just seem to be lacking in all departments. And as we know, Aston Villa, although they can make mistakes from time to time, when they switch on, and I really think that they should get the points versus Norwich. And in terms of a player to watch, it's very, very difficult to say because there are so many out of form players at the moment. But I am going to go for the likes of Coutinho. Once again, when he is playing, when he is fit, as we know, the Brazilian magician always produces his magic. And I guess we'll have to see if he can do it versus a team that wears the Brazilian colours. I don't know, maybe he'll get confused and end up scoring an own goal. I have to wait and see.
This is great banter. It really is.
And of course, jumping into our next game, we have Southampton versus Crystal Palace. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a fairly tight game to predict, to be honest with you. I think both teams are so incredibly similar. I mean, 13th and 14th place on the Premier League table at the moment. Both of them obviously have the ability to steal draws here and there. I mean, I'm surprised neither of them are higher up on the Premier League table at the moment. Of course, it's a matter of converting those draws into wins. Of course, both recently got wins versus Arsenal, which, I mean, pretty strange. But I mean, I guess that's just typical of Arsenal, to be honest with you. Look, it's become quite obvious that obviously in their last 7 games, Crystal Palace have gotten a lot more points than Southampton. Obviously, looking at Crystal Palace, they've gotten 9 points out of their last possible 21 points, where Southampton have only gotten a possible 5 out of their last 21 points. So, of course, looking at both of these teams on paper, although I'd like to say it is incredibly close, something about it just tells me that Crystal Palace will just end up stealing points. As I said, could be very close. I think if you look at the history between these two teams, Southampton have a better history. As you can see, only 2 Crystal Palace wins in their last 10 meetings. But as I said, just something about this Crystal Palace team at the moment, I think they'll end up getting a win. And my player to watch has to be good old Wilfried Zaha. Of course, 11 goals in the Premier League so far this season. I mean, it's the most he's ever had in a Premier League season. Of course, he got 11 goals last season. He's now tied it for this season. A man on form so far this season. I mean, I just think he's been exceptional this season as a whole. Under Patrick Vieira, he's definitely transformed into a new man. Even in terms of tracking back and his defensive ability, he's been solid. But obviously, as we know, if there's any sort of free kick that Southampton have, it probably will be scored by James Ward-Prowse. I mean, that man is a free kick master. I feel like he has to be called up to the England squad for the World Cup. Even if they don't play him at all, if they concede a free kick in a dangerous area, they can almost just bring him on. He will score it and they can just substitute him off. I mean, he is a high impact player. Obviously, jokes aside, even when he plays, he has an impact. He is a brilliant player. But as I said, this time around, I just see Crystal Palace stealing the points. And of course, moving on, Watford versus Burnley. Now, I cannot believe it, but Burnley are out of the relegation zone. They are 17th place. They are playing versus Watford, who haven't gotten a single win. They've gotten 10 losses in their last 10 home games. Now, of course, looking at them, they will be playing Burnley. And of course, Burnley being in better form at the moment. I mean, everything is just in Burnley's favour at the moment, which, I mean, I don't know when last that sentence was said. Obviously, looking at them, recently got a 1-0 win versus Wolves. Before that, got a 2-0 win versus Southampton. Something has changed about this Burnley team. I would hate to say it, but they've almost improved since Sean Dyche left, which feels illegal to say. He's such a cult hero. But at the moment, Burnley just been on such amazing form at the moment. And I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Burnley, I think they're going to stay up this season, and I think Everton might go down. I can't believe I'm saying that. Imagine telling someone that in the beginning of the season. They would not have believed you. But as I said, I think Burnley, they're going to take the points, although anything can happen. I mean, Watford, I had so much faith in the beginning of the season, but unfortunately, in terms of results, they're just not there at the moment. And in terms of a player to watch, it has to be good old Nick Pope between the posts. As we know, that man is an absolute hero. I mean, it's ironic that his name is Pope because he's been an absolute saint for the Burnleys this season. And he will make a difference versus Watford. Now, moving on to our next game, we've got Wolves versus Brighton. Of course, Wolves fighting for a European spot. I mean, they've really picked up since last season. Of course, Brighton maybe not getting the points that I thought they would this season, but actually still very good as they are in 11th place. I mean, looking at Wolves, as I said, recently got a 1-0 loss versus Brighton versus them, or recently got, a 1-0 loss versus Burnley, should I say. You do expect better from Wolves. Obviously, looking at the likes of Brighton, I mean, recently they've stolen points from the likes of Southampton, Spurs, and Arsenal. Brighton seem to be in better form at the moment, but I just know how good this Wolves squad is. It is so tricky to separate them, and I am going to end up going with a 1-1 draw. It is so hard to pick the difference between the two, and yes, I know it is kind of a weak answer, but I do think a draw is very, very possible. And in terms of a player to watch, once again, going to be very, very tricky, but Ruben Neves seems to be the player on the day for Wolves that can make a difference. And once again, if they end up getting points from Brighton, I can 100% see him contributing to that draw. As I said, going to be a close game, and we'll see what happens. Now moving on, Leeds versus Man City. Now of course, Leeds United, I don't know what happened, but under Jesse Marsch, who would have thought that American could have a positive impact on the Premier League?
No way.
I mean, that American manager has changed Leeds United. They've stolen valuable points. Of course, 16th place at the moment, edging further and further away from the relegation zone. Jesse Marsch has saved Leeds United's season. But of course, versus Manchester City, I'm sorry, a team that has only gotten 3 losses this entire season. I have to give Manchester City a relatively comfortable, I'm going to go for a 4-1 win, to be honest with you. Obviously, Man City, absolutely incredible. Obviously, in that Champions League game versus Real Madrid, they obviously beat Real Madrid 4-3. At the end of the day, as we know, Man City are so strong. And I mean, Leeds United, I'd love to give you the benefit of a doubt, but last time you guys played, it was a 7-0 win to Manchester City, and I do think it'll be a relatively comfortable one this time around. And of course, in terms of a player to watch, it is never easy with Man City as they've got so many brilliant players, but I'm going to go for Gabriel Jesus, the man who scored 4 goals past Watford, which, by the way, isn't it funny that the second Gabriel Jesus got linked to the likes of an Arsenal move? He was like, you know what, screw that, I'm playing my best, I can't go to the Emirates, I'm going to play for Manchester City. And of course, 4 goals for them. He's been brilliant as of late. Once again versus Leeds United, I expect nothing else. Now, of course, moving on, we've got the Frank Lampard derby, as Frank Lampard manages Everton versus his former club that he's managed and played for, Chelsea. Now, of course, Chelsea, I mean, I think no matter what, they're probably going to end up 3rd at the end of the season. Of course, they could still technically become 4th place, which is weird to think about, but they won't be able to catch 2nd place. Chelsea have somewhat had an underwhelming season, unfortunately, but as we know, they do have a brilliant team, and even when they are in sloppy form, let's be honest, I'd be so surprised if they ended up losing to Everton. As we know, Everton, just horrible form at the moment. Obviously, recently lost 2-0 to Liverpool. I mean, 8 wins versus Chelsea's 19. There is no doubt in my mind that, of course, Chelsea should take this one, and they should take it relatively easy, but I am just going to go for a 2-0 win. I mean, Chelsea are just so weird. Obviously, as you can see, their last game, they ended up, if I can click off of that for a second, they obviously beat West Ham 1-0. Before that, they lost 4-2 to Arsenal, which I didn't expect. Before that, they beat Southampton 6-0, but before that, lost 4-1 to Brentford. Chelsea, I mean, you guys have just had such a roller coaster of a season. I've got no idea how to feel about you guys. With this current form, you could lose to Everton, and I wouldn't be surprised. But of course, as I said, this time around, I expect Chelsea to end up getting a win, and my player to watch, it is going to be Mason Mount, good old reliable for Chelsea. Although Antonio Rudiger's not a bad shout, as he will be leaving at the end of the season to Real Madrid. But obviously, as we know, Mason Mount, he is a difference maker. Mason Money Mount. Now, of course, moving on, we've got Spurs versus Leicester City. Of course, as we know, it is always a big game. It is always a game that holds a lot of goals in this fixture. As you can see, the recent games, obviously Spurs won 3-2, then a 4-2, then a 2-0, a 3-0, a 2-1, a 3-1. As we see, it goes on and on that this game always holds many goals. Now the question is, who's going to take home the win this time around? Of course, as we know, Spurs, although they've been magnificent this season in my opinion, obviously 18 wins. I mean, they recently lost 1-0 to Brighton and got a 0-0 draw versus Brentford. Spurs can be so weird on the day, but we cannot forget what brilliant form and goal scoring form that they were before that. Obviously versus Leeds United, who haven't had a good season, a 0-0 draw versus Villa and a 1-1 draw versus Everton. Unfortunately, just looking at these two teams at the moment, although Leicester have produced brilliance in the Europa League, I have to give it to Tottenham Hotspurs, and I am going to make it one of those typically entertaining 3-1 wins. I think it's going to hold a lot of goals, but I think Spurs, with the season that they've had, they should still be at least relatively comfortable. And of course, the player to watch has to be good old Heung-min Son, obviously kind of fighting for that golden boot spot with 17 goals in the Premier League this season. As we know, absolutely magnificent, and with his pace at the moment versus a relatively sloppy Leicester City City defense, he should be able to capitalize on it. That, of course, takes us to what I believe is our second last game this Premier League match week. West Ham United versus Arsenal. Now, once again, Arsenal, you guys started off so brilliantly this season, or you had such a brilliant spell this season. I mean, you guys are in 4th place at the moment, which, I mean, I do feel like is relatively lucky because, I mean, you guys haven't been in the greatest form. Obviously, a 3-0 loss versus Crystal Palace, a 2-1 loss versus Brighton, then a 1-0 loss versus Southampton. But, I mean, Arsenal, this is so typically Arsenal of you. To lose against those teams, then to get a 4-2 win versus Chelsea and a 3-1 win versus Manchester United. I don't know what to make of you guys. Arsenal are just the weirdest team in the entire world. They could lose to any lower team in the entire world, but beat absolutely any European contender. Arsenal, you are so strange, and I mean, it makes it so hard to predict. But saying that, looking at West Ham United, as we know, they obviously recently lost 1-0 to Chelsea, and although West Ham have had a good season, currently in 7th place this season, maybe not quite fighting for the higher European spots, they haven't really taken any points from the top dogs, I feel, so far this season. When it comes to the top 4 contenders so far this season, or the top 5 contenders, they have battled to take points. And as I said with Arsenal, the teams they have beaten as of late, I can see Arsenal winning this one, and I can maybe see it end as a 2-1 win. As I said, going to be tremendously close. And of course, my play to watch has to be Ketia. As we know, Eddie Ketia has been brilliant. Of course, has been linked to an international call-up to the Ghanaian national team, which, of course, if you guys have not seen my video where I mentioned 4 players that could debut for Ghana when it comes to the upcoming African Cup of Nations or the World Cup, make sure to check that video in the eye thingy up above. That video has just passed 40,000 views. That is insane for my channel. Thank you so much. I would appreciate it if you checked it out. But of course, as I said, Ketia obviously scored 2 goals versus Chelsea, was good versus Manchester United, although Ramsdale could easily be my player to watch. I am going to make him my player to watch in this fixture. And of course, that takes us to, I mean, talk about the theatre of dreams. I've been having nightmares with Manchester United. Of course, my team, Manchester United, obviously a 3-1 loss versus Arsenal following a 4-0 loss versus Liverpool. I'm not a happy Manchester United fan at the moment. I know we've got a new manager next season, but I've absolutely got no hope at the moment. Where, of course, you look at Brentford. Look at the form of Manchester United versus the form of Brentford at the moment. That is shocking. A draw versus Tottenham, of course, a 2-1 win versus Watford, a 2-0 win versus West Ham, a 4-1 win versus Chelsea. Obviously, they got that loss over here versus Leicester, but obviously a win versus Burnley, a win versus Norwich. Brentford are on fire this moment, and my absolute nightmare at the moment is Christian Eriksen in the form he's been in, the likes of Ivan Toney in the form he's been in. I hate to say it, but I'm terrified that we lose to a team that are in their debut Premier League season. It is absolutely terrifying to think of, but I mean, I have to have some hope as a Manchester United fan, right? I have to grasp onto something that we can at least get 5th place this season. And that is why I'm going to go for a Manchester United 1-0 win. In fact, I mean, I can see Brentford scoring with the way things have been. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win in Manchester United's favour. And I hate to say it, but that might even be optimistic at this stage. But of course, looking at United, I'll say this. We lost 3-1 to Arsenal, but for the most part, I would almost say we were the better team at moments. We actually didn't have an awful game. It's just stupid slip-ups. I mean, defensively, we were woeful. We didn't quite take our attacking chances, but I could see us getting back into that game, to be honest with you. And if we play in a similar fashion, dare I say, versus Brentford, the result could be different. Also, referee decisions could be different. And I can imagine United getting a win versus Brentford. I mean, as I said, Brentford, at the moment, the results they've gotten, they have been brilliant. Yeah, I mean, in the last 7 games to only get 1 loss, they can be tremendously proud of themselves. And in terms of a player to watch, so difficult. No one's in form for Manchester United. Maybe a David De Gea, but I'm going to go for the likes of Anthony Elanga. Obviously, when we see the young Swedish attacker up front, I mean, when in terms of creating chances and exciting moments, he can be a difference maker, and I could see him getting an assist or a goal versus Brentford. But that, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my Premier League Match Week 35 predictions, filled of some brilliant games. Don't forget to put your predictions down in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, all of the good things. We have just passed 4,000 subscribers. So many thanks to all of you. If that's how I can word it, thank you to all of you so much is what I meant to say. But guys, this has been fun. FY double N. Manchester United, don't you dare lose to Brentford.